If your face is fat, bloated, soft, or rounded, then it's impossible to be physically attractive. I'm not here to lie to you. I'm here to make you very attractive. That's what this channel is all about. You're probably here because you know your lack of facial definition is making you less attractive. The good news is it's incredibly straightforward, and I'll show you exactly how. If you didn't know how to get a highly defined face before, in this 32-minute guide today, I'll walk you through the 5 essential steps to get a highly defined face. This will be the last video you'll ever need on this. If you're not able to set aside 30 minutes, that'll guarantee you better looks, then you're probably not serious about improving yourself. But if you watch this guide in full and apply it, you will become noticeably more attractive, guaranteed. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing we're looking at is body fat percentage, and the ideal range is 10 to 12%. Your face has a lot of compartments that store fat, and having healthy levels of fat in the face is really important to ensure that you're still signaling high health and you're within the health pillar. So when you're within the range of 10 to 12%, the face will look optimally lean, and you're in the sweet spot for maximizing angularity and also being a safe distance away from the unhealthy lows of body fat percentage. For example, when you're in the low digits, the single digits, your testosterone levels and thyroid hormones will start to be negatively impacted, and also your cortisol levels are going to be elevated as well. So this is not what you want. Anything above 12 or 10% will negatively impact your appeal, physical attraction. So when you're above 12%, your facial harmony is going to be reduced, your angularity is going to be reduced, which is going to make you look more juvenile and low dimorphism, so low sexual maturity, and also going to reduce your perceived health. And when you're below 10%, you're going to start to look gaunt, malnourished, prematurely aged, and in general, just fairly unhealthy. So losing the excess weight, it's really simple. Caloric deficit equals weight loss. So burning more calories than you consume. And the way to make sure that your weight loss and maintenance is easy and you don't really think much about it is when you're not hungry at all. So yeah, over the years, I tried a lot of different methods, diets for removing that excess body fat. And the most effective way that I found is the carnivore diet. And then you just reintroduce clean carbs. It's really, really simple. So you don't have to just stick to the carnivore diet alone, because carnivore diet is not a permanent solution in my opinion. But the concept of keeping sugar to a minimal level whilst also prioritizing high protein and high animal fat consumption, it should form the foundation of how you eat from now on, essentially. So the carnivore diet is a really easy way to implement this concept of low sugar, high fat, high protein. The main point here is just to prioritize the most satiating macros. Those are fat and protein, and satiating just means filling, essentially. So you want to be eliminating as well the processed foods and ensuring that you get a great variety of micronutrients. A great bonus of not eating sugar is that you don't need to count your calories. You just eat when you're hungry and you stop eating when you're no longer hungry, store the food for later, and then start again. It's really, really easy. So I personally did the carnivore diet for a couple months, and then I reintroduced fruits, raw honey. You don't want to be getting honey from the store. If you don't already know, it's just sugar syrup, essentially. They remove the pollen, all the goodness, it's just fake flavored sugar syrup. So get it from the beekeeper. And yeah, coconut water, raw, and I had these almost every day for a clean source of carbohydrates. But I didn't really need to do the carnivore diet. I was already close to the target range of 10 to 12%. I was just curious and wanted to know how I'd feel on it, function on it. And yeah, overall, it was a really good experience, but for that short time of a couple months. So yeah, it all depends on your baseline and what you want. If you are overweight and you're getting bored of it, fed up, you just want to lose weight, the carnivore diet is a very good powerhouse option. So give it a go, 2 to 3 months if you want to. It is a powerhouse option and you will see great improvements on it. But yeah, the first week is going to be pretty tricky. You're going to feel almost like you have a hangover. You're just going to feel tired, lethargic. It only lasts for a week. Once you get past it, it's really, really easy. It's just the body converting its main energy source from sugar to fat. It's nothing to be concerned about. So if you're already in shape, you could easily just skip the carnivore diet and do animal-based or animal-centered diet. And all of these foods are going to be mentioned below. But yeah, essentially just meat, organs, animal produce, fruits, honey, and coconut water. So here is a very simplified overview of what you should and shouldn't consume on your transformation journey, essentially, to becoming highly physically attractive. And you really should stick to this as much as possible. It is such an essential part of becoming highly attractive. Let's go through it. So meat including beef, lamb, venison, chicken, pork, seafood. I would prioritize the wild caught over the sort of factory medicated cattle. You want to be eating organs, so important. Liver, heart, mainly liver for that micronutrient density. Animal produce, eggs, raw dairy in small amounts, bone marrow, bone broth, beef tallow and butter to cook with. They don't oxidize in the pan or to a very small degree in comparison to typical cooking, I guess, lubricants you could call them. Fruits, honey, raw coconut water. And yeah, prioritizing fat and protein over carbohydrates for sure. And water. If you're drinking water, I would highly recommend investing in a reverse osmosis water filtration system. It will set you back a little bit, but it's going to be blocking out microplastics, heavy metals, bacteria, pharmaceuticals flushed down into the water system from, if you think about all the contraceptives and Plan Bs and all that stuff, you're essentially just microdosing pharmaceuticals every day by drinking tap water if it's not filtered. So yeah, avoiding seed oils, vegetable oils, canola oil, sunflower oil, sesame oil, not great for you. Yeah, no plant-based foods high in plant defense chemicals, talking grains, legumes, vegetables, nuts, seeds, avoiding processed foods, additives, sweeteners, and synthetic ingredients. This one's going to be tricky. A lot of people are not going to like this one, including myself, because, you know, caffeine makes you feel good, buzzed, but it is a drug, and it's going to, with overuse, cause adrenal fatigue, dehydration. It's going to reduce your sleep quality significantly. Oxalates, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but in, for example, a cup of coffee, you have over 150,000 different plant defense chemicals, including oxalates. Just really, really terrible for you. And yeah, overstimulation of bile production, causing bile depletion. Not great. Not great for you at all. So yeah, and obviously, finally, just alcohol, other recreational substances, drugs, just completely avoid those. If you're drinking alcohol and taking drugs and you're wanting to improve yourself, you're not really in the right place, to be honest. If you're doing that and you want to improve the way you look, you can't really truly say that you're taking it very seriously. So yeah, essentially you just want to be consuming little to no carbohydrates. You can still eat carbohydrates, of course, but just keeping them low and prioritizing the protein and the fat is going to reduce your hunger significantly, reduce snacking, and just naturally lower your caloric intake overall. Once you've reached 10 to 12% body fat, simply just continue to maintain the higher intake of fat and protein and the lower intake of carbohydrates. If you want to just maintain that sustainability and flexibility, what I personally do is I will enjoy a different meal or a different drink that will fall outside of the criteria listed above on special occasions. You know, when you're out with friends and family, or if you're on a date, you know, I'll have a cocktail here and there. I'll have a nice dish. It's important to enjoy your life, guys, as well, especially once you're becoming more attractive. There is really no point otherwise in doing all of this. Don't be that guy at the social occasion, the only guy who has, like, you know, he's eating his own thing and he's completely excluding himself from the occasion. It ruins the vibe, you know? Like, you don't want to be that guy where everyone's like having a good time and you're counting your calories. Or when you're by yourself, give it your best. But when you're with other people, you know, enjoy yourself a little bit. So yeah, once you've reached this ideal range, you're going to look and feel just so much better, and your mindset is going to shift. So maintaining it is going to be a lot easier than you might think right now. So how do you know that you've reached this ideal range of 10 to 12%? Well, you're going to have visible abs, regardless of the development and the lighting. Defined V-line, that's the obliques, so the muscles next to your abs. You're going to have visible veins in your arms, shoulders, lower abdomen. And yeah, consistency of a lean appearance, regardless of the lighting. So once you reach this, you'll know. And yeah, that's really, really good. Okay, so next is reducing facial bloating. And facial bloating is not facial fat. Facial bloating is a buildup of a fluid in the soft tissue of the face, more specifically in the subcutaneous tissue, which lies just beneath the skin. So facial bloating is going to make your face look puffy, even if you're lean. And the main cause is water retention and systemic inflammation. So what can you do to completely remove your facial bloating? What I personally did that worked really well for me was cutting out salt from the diet. Salt has a very highly sodium dominant electrolyte profile, and sodium binds to water in the soft tissue of the face and will lead to a lot of water retention. So don't get confused between salt and sodium. They're not the same thing. There's a lot of misinterpretation there. You need sodium. Sodium's very important. You don't need salt. You're going to get enough sodium from the diet provided. Salt contains its own electrolyte profile of sodium, potassium, magnesium, all that stuff. Sodium is its own compound. So you want to significantly reduce your carbohydrate intake, as mentioned previously in the diet. So yeah, carbohydrates are stored in the body as glycogen, and for every 1 gram of glycogen, it's going to be storing itself with 3 grams of water. So you can imagine the level of water retention here. No processed food. Processed foods are high in sodium, sugar, and additives. And reduce your physical, psychological physiological and chemical stress. So stress of any kind is going to result in the release of cortisol in the body from the adrenal glands. And cortisol triggers the kidneys to store more sodium. Some of the main things that I did personally were replacing my intensive gym sessions with relaxing walks. And not only that, but just less intensive gym sessions as well. Cut out people from your life that make your life more difficult. I know it sounds very cliche, but people that are going to be causing you stress, it's not good for you. So just get rid of them and replace products with long ingredient lists with natural alternatives. Yeah, no drugs, this is an obvious one. And that includes alcohol and caffeine. They're going to dehydrate your body, increase your systemic inflammation, and disrupt your hormone regulation as well. And finally, what you need to avoid and get rid of, oxalates. So oxalates are crystals, essentially, that cause immense systemic inflammation in the body, and they're responsible for a wide range of issues, such as acne, eczema, chronic pain, and neurotoxicity, so mental and psychological issues. Foods high in oxalates would be spinach, beetroot, rhubarb, sweet potatoes, nuts, seeds, grains, soy products, dark chocolate, black tea, coffee, and berries. And luckily, none of these are included in the diet. So you want to increase your potassium intake to about 3,000 milligrams a day. So potassium causes the kidneys to excrete excess sodium from the body, which is then removed from the body via urination. Some of the best sources of bioavailable potassium include wild-caught salmon, liver, oysters, eggs, full-fat raw dairy, coconut water, and bananas. You want to increase your magnesium intake to about 400 milligrams a day. So magnesium will also help reduce water retention by balancing the fluids in the body and flushing out excess water. You can get great bioavailable magnesium from liver, heart, eggs, full-fat raw dairy, bone broth, and oysters. And finally, eat more protein. So from the diet itself, you're going to get plenty of protein, 1 gram per pound of body weight a day. Increased protein intake is going to help maintain oncotic pressure in the blood vessels and prevent fluid leakage into the tissues. So 3, developing your facial muscles. So a wide and developed jaw is essential for male sexual dimorphism and physical attraction. So it's going to improve your facial angularity significantly. The muscle that you see, which is responsible for the size and the width of the jaw, is the masseter muscle. And the masseter muscle is, in terms of development, is key for developing your jaw. As you can see, this is the muscle that we're talking about here. So the function of the masseter muscle is to chew. By elevating the mandible bone, you can develop this muscle with consistent chewing of higher resistance foods and substances, as well as also mouthguard clenching. And I'll discuss this slightly later within the exercise routine. So an example of some higher resistance foods and substances would be tough cuts of meat, such as beef jerk, flank steak, as well as high volumes of chewing gum stored in the cold or the fridge for added resistance. You can use the rubber jaw trainers at the backs of the molars with increasing resistance. They're fine. Just don't use the ones that you place in between the front of the teeth, as I'll just mention in a bit, or why that's the case with proper chewing. And also, of course, mouthguard clenching as well for food/substances that you can use. So avoid hard gum like mastic gum, thalum gum, as this is going to lead to TMJ disorder. It's not worth it at all. So it's very important that you chew properly during this whole process in order not to activate other muscles. So you want to be focusing on chewing with the backs of your molars in slow, controlled motions to isolate the masseter muscle and avoid unnecessary involvement of the buccinator muscle, as over time, with overactivation, is going to give you a rounded face appearance. And this is definitely not what you want. So the buccinator muscle lies underneath the cheek here. So additionally, you want to avoid strong blowing and sucking actions, like through straws. These are all going to activate the buccinator muscle. And finally, activating and training the submental muscles is essential for facial definition. Without it, a loose submental region appears similar to a double chin, and this is really, really unattractive. So the submental region is under the chin, so this region here. The submental muscles are part of the suprahyoid muscle group and responsible for tongue movements, jaw movements, swallowing, and speaking. You can train the submental muscles with chin tucks, tongue pressing or chewing, and controlled neck curls. Neck curls will also obviously develop your neck, which is an essential aspect of physical attraction in men or for men. And yeah, I'll give you a daily facial exercise routine at the end. It'll cover all the important muscles we've discussed so far. All right, so 4, tightening your facial skin. So tight facial skin is highly attractive. So it's not only important for facial definition, but having tight, youthful skin is one of the most important components within the health pillar. And maximizing skin turnover and collagen production is the solution for the loose facial skin. and creating a tight facial skin. So how do you do this? How do you increase skin cell turnover and collagen production? Well, you want daily vitamin A or retinol consumption, daily low-dose vitamin C from a natural source, weekly bone broths, microneedling every 4 to 6 weeks. The routine and the guide for this is given in the skin module in phase 2 and 3, and red light therapy every single night for about 5 to 10 minutes. So vitamin A helps to create a smooth, youthful skin texture via increased skin cell turnover. You want to maximize the safe amount of bioavailable vitamin A that you consume daily. I personally eat 25 grams of liver every single day, and this is such a great source of bioavailable vitamin A. So this is not only going to ensure that you hit a high and consistent dose of bioavailable vitamin A every single day, but also ensure that you're getting a nice variety of other crucial micronutrients, such as B12, heme iron, folate, copper, zinc, choline, riboflavin, niacin, and selenium. So bioavailability is the ability of a substance to be absorbed and used by the body. So secondly, as mentioned, you want to consume vitamin C. So there are 2 important considerations when it comes to vitamin C. Firstly, a natural source. Secondly, low dose. This is really important. And why is that? Well, most supplements have low bioavailability, as they're usually synthetic forms of the nutrient. So you want to get your vitamin C, and preferably from organic or homegrown oranges or lemons, to avoid pesticides, which are found on all store-bought fruits. And pesticides are going to seriously damage your gut by killing the healthy bacteria found in your gut microbiome. So pesticides are antimicrobial chemicals. They're going to really, really damage your gut microbiome. So consuming vitamin C is really, really important for collagen synthesis. And without vitamin C, collagen fibers are going to be weak and unstable. But here's the catch almost. When consumed in high doses, vitamin C is converted into oxalic acid or oxalates, as mentioned. So oxalates, as mentioned, going to cause immense systemic inflammation problems within the body. So try and limit your daily vitamin C consumption to no more than 50 milligrams. You also want to be consuming bone broths weekly and microneedling every 4 to 6 weeks with pure hyaluronic acid, as well as red light therapy every single night. These are all very effective methods for increasing your collagen synthesis. High collagen density in the face is essential for tight, youthful skin. We want our facial skin to tightly wrap around the craniofacial and myofascial structures of the face, creating a noticeable disconnect between the face and the neck. All right, 5. Optimizing your lifestyle. So firstly, let's look at sleep. Poor sleep is going to result in increased fat storage, increased water retention, under eye swelling, darker under eye circles, reddened and swollen eyes, paler skin, more fine lines, premature aging. You'll have a worn out appearance and also increased weight gain. So how do you optimize your sleep? Well, you want to ensure that you're getting bright, natural light in the morning to set your circadian rhythm, avoiding caffeine, minimal to no blue light at night before you go to bed from screens, etc. Try and sleep on your back with your head elevated to prevent fluid pooling and wrinkle formation, as that may be the case with side sleeping. It's not the end of the world if you sleep on your side, but you might want to consider changing to sleeping on your back. You want to keep your bedroom cool, so anywhere from 18 to 20 degrees Celsius or 64 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on where you are watching this video. And yeah, dark, so use blackout curtains and utilize white noise. You can get that from a fan. It's really, really good for undisturbed deep sleep. You want to be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep daily, and get your sleep and wake times consistent as well. You want to be waking up and going to sleep at the same time within 10 minutes every single night for at least a few months to really start noticing the benefits from proper circadian rhythm. You can also utilize melatonin supplementation initially to correct your circadian rhythm if it's out of place. And try and finish eating at least 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, as digestion will disrupt deep sleep. And avoid your bed until you sleep. Try and lock in almost like a ritual of going to sleep, where your body recognizes that it's going to be time to go to sleep when you enter your bed, rather than lounging in your bed all day and disrupting this pattern. So the next thing to optimize is stress. So there are 3 types of stress: a physical, psychological, and chemical stress. And all stress is bad for the body. It's going to increase the release of cortisol in the body. So high or chronic cortisol is going to signal the body to hold on to fat and fluids, which is going to result in a fatter and more bloated face. It's going to give you puffy cheeks and a thicker under chin area, regardless of your diet. It's going to break down collagen at a faster rate, resulting in premature aging and it's going to trigger inflammation systemically. So how do you reduce and minimize your stress? Well, if we first look at chemical stress, you want to stop using products with unnatural or long ingredient lists and replace them with natural alternatives. For example, you can switch store-bought deodorants, which contain heavy metals, parabens, and phthalates, with pure natural potassium crystal roll-on. This is something that I personally have done, because when you really stop and think about what you're putting on your skin, especially in this case, the armpit or the axilla, it contains vital anatomy, such as lymph nodes, the brachial plexus, which is a nerve network, and major blood vessels. Just think about the absorption into this area and what you really want to be putting on your skin. Another great example is laundry detergents. Really, really bad for you. So you can switch to 2 tablespoons of white vinegar as a replacement, and it doesn't make your clothes smell like vinegar, I promise. There's absolutely no smell, and it removes the odor from your clothes. So you want to avoid Teflon in non-stick pans, which will leach into your food. Switch to stainless steel or cast iron options when you cook, and don't heat or cook foods in plastic or aluminium foil. The diet provided will ensure that you're not subject to any diet-related chemical stress commonly found in the traditional Western diet. And if you're drinking water, try and switch to reverse osmosis filtered water. So next is minimizing psychological stress. So obviously this is easier said than done, although the best thing you can do is just remove the sources. And this is a really, really good start. So getting proper sleep is essential. 10 minutes, I would recommend, of guided meditation every single day will significantly reduce your psychological stress, short-term and long-term. You want to remove addiction to your phone, social media, other addictions that are causing these feelings of dependency, which will increase your psychological stress significantly. And yeah, as mentioned previously, I didn't pop it here for whatever reason. Just cutting out the other sources, the connections, relationships, for example, that are causing you significant psychological stress, whether it's just moving away from them either temporarily or completely cutting them out of your life. And yeah, you want to increase your social interaction. Don't isolate yourself. Social interaction is really, really huge for mental well-being and psychological stress. So finally, physical stress and minimizing physical stress. I personally advise against intense workouts, overtraining, under-recovery. All this stuff, you might think, oh, I'm burning that fat, getting that good workout in. But in reality, these intense workouts are just going to be just causing an immense amount of physical stress on your body. It doesn't mean you have to avoid working out, of course, but just don't kill yourself in the gym. You don't need to do that. Just get a good workout in, get a good sweat in, but you don't need to be on the brink of heart attack every single workout. You can still have a good workout without completely destroying yourself. But that's, of course, up to you. This is just a recommendation. And yeah, ensure that your micronutrient density is nice and high, and this is in the diet that I provided. And reduce your systemic inflammation, of course, via optimal diet and sleep. As mentioned, the diet and the sleep previously, you can follow the advice there. So the next thing is testosterone. You want to maximize your testosterone for increased masculine facial development, forward growth of the facial bones, optimal fat distribution throughout the body and the face, increased muscle mass and muscle retention as well, a leaner face, broader jaw, thicker skin with more collagen content, increased skin elasticity, and increased facial hair quality. So the best ways to maximize your testosterone would be to increase animal fat consumption, and you'll get plenty of that in the diet, liver consumption, of course, in the diet, sun exposure, minimal physical, psychological, and chemical stress, as previously talked about, optimizing your sleep, as previously talked about, compound lifts in the gym. Prioritize these over high rep isolated lifts. So finally, for lifestyle optimization, we're looking at mewing and nasal breathing. So these should both be something you do as a bare minimum if you're trying to improve your physical attraction. What are you going to get from consistent mewing? Well, improved maxillary development, a wider palate, improved jaw definition, improved facial symmetry, and submental tightness. All really, really important stuff. So how do you mew? If you don't already know, if you do, you can just skip past this. Here's how you do it. You want to keep your lips closed gently without straining. Let your teeth lightly touch. Press the entire tongue, especially the back, against the roof of your mouth. Rest the tip of your tongue just behind your front teeth without touching them, and breathe calmly through your nose, not your mouth. It really is that easy. So nasal breathing is going to be great for air filtration, increased oxygenation to the skin via increased nitric oxide in your sinuses. So this is going to be really, really good for skin health, this increased oxygenation, having that youthful, healthy skin. You're going to be avoiding a long and narrow face, avoiding chin recession, a sloping jaw, and a narrow jaw. Kind of similar to the narrow face, but we're looking more at the sort of cheekbone upper face region, and we're looking more at the jaw region. Narrowing will occur for both without nasal breathing. And nasal breathing is going to force you into a correct oral posture, and over time will improve the development and structure of your face. So here's a simple daily facial exercise routine that you can do starting from today. And I personally follow this. I have obviously stopped doing certain exercises once I've reached the golden zone for the particular proportions, which I'll mention in a bit. Here's a daily facial routine that you can do today. Resisted chewing, mouth guard clenching, as of course if you have a mouth guard. If you don't, then it's a very cheap purchase. Chin tucks, neck curls, and side flexion, and tongue chewing. And I'll explain how to do all of these slightly later on. You can simply just reduce the intensity or the frequency of the resisted chewing and mouth guard clenching once you reach the golden zone for your jaw, and just do the same with the neck exercises once you've also reached the golden zone for the neck. So it's really important that you do not develop your jaw with the exercises if you're already within the golden zone. So your jaw width should be about 87 to 92% the width of your cheekbone. And if you develop your jaw past this range, you will look worse. So please take the time now to measure your face using a picture taken from arm's length away to avoid lens distortion, and use a ruler for the measurements. You can also use GIMP, which is the photo editing software, and use the measurement tool within GIMP, or you can use the ruler tool within Photoshop, which is what I personally use for videos and measurements with clients. So here's how you do it. So firstly, you want to measure the horizontal distance between the corners of the jaw. So this is here. And then you want to measure the horizontal distance between your cheekbones. So here to here. And then divide the jaw width by the cheekbone width and multiply the number by 100 to get that percentage. So in this example, it's 256 divided by 308 times by 100. So his jaw width is 83.4% the width of his cheekbones. If he was a member within the community and he had just messaged me with this measurement, I would advise him to develop his jaw into the golden zone. The next really important thing to consider is your neck width. So don't develop your neck width with the neck exercises if you already are in the golden zone. Your neck width should be about 92 to 96% the width of your jaw. If you develop your neck width past this range, you will look worse. So again, take the time to measure your face, and here's how you do it. So firstly, measure the thickness of your neck, just like this. And typically you want to be doing this at the upper region of the neck. Then you want to measure the horizontal distance between the corners of the jaw. So if you already have the measurement saved, it's this measurement again. And then divide the thickness of the neck by the width of the jaw and multiply the number again by 100 to get that percentage. So in this case, it's 243 divided by 258 times by 100, which would lead to 94.2%. So in this example, he is perfectly within the golden zone. However, in his particular case, I know this is just a drawing, but if we're just using this as a case, in his particular case, I would advise him to keep an eye on this measurement because, as previously mentioned, he will be widening his jaw and therefore the neck will likely have to catch up slightly to this measurement. So how do you do all of these exercises? Well, firstly, for all of these exercises, you do not want to rush into them. You want to start slowly, build up intensity, until you're fully comfortable with what you're doing and your body has been fully acclimated to the new resistance and movements that you're doing. So for resisted chewing, you can use 10 to 15 pieces of sugar-free gum have been stored in the refrigerator, and chew intensely for around 30 seconds each side. Additionally, you can use the rubber jaw trainer, starting at the lowest resistance and increasing it over time. For mouth guard clenching, you want to place a soft mouth guard between your teeth. It can be anywhere from around 1 to 3 millimeters of thickness of the mouth guard. Place it between your teeth to protect them and distribute the pressure equally. The mouth guard also allows you to push harder without pain and damage to the enamel. So don't do this without a mouth guard. Really, really important here. So clench your teeth or your jaw firmly for around 10 seconds, then rest for a few seconds, and then repeat. And do 10 reps of this. So you want to start with mild to moderate pressure for your first session and gradually build up the force over time. And this would typically be 1 to 2 weeks until you reach your max clench force. So keep your jaw aligned and locked in place. Don't jut your jaw forward or twist while clenching. I feel like that's quite obvious. So the next thing is chin tucking. And this is a great postural and orthodontic technique that is designed to improve forward head posture by aligning the neck and the head with the body. It's also a really great way to activate the submental muscles and also help improve craniofacial development, forward growth, facial harmony, sexual dimorphism, and the perception of your health. If you don't already know, here's how you do it. You want to stand with your back against the wall. Your feet should be slightly forward and about the length of 1 foot away from the wall. You don't need to press your shoulders against the wall with any force, just let them just rest against the wall and touch the back of your head at your occiput, which is the bump at the back of your head on the wall. And imagine there's a piece of paper behind your head that you're trying to keep in place. So you want to then tilt your head slightly forward and relax it by sliding it up the wall at the back. And you want to focus on pulling your chin back and down, which is going to give you double chins. So you want to aim to lift the back of your head as high as possible along the wall. You want to hold this position with a light, forceful contraction for about 20 seconds, and then relax back to the initial position and then repeat. And then do 5 sets of this, as mentioned at the beginning in that routine. So for neck curls, really easy, but it's important that you do it correctly to engage the right muscles and ensure that you're doing it safely as well. So you want to lie on your back. You can do this at home or at the gym if you want to. It's become a little bit more normal, I guess, these days. And if you don't care, it doesn't matter. Just do what you want, essentially. Tuck your chin into your neck and your chest and slowly lift up your head. And then slowly go back to neutral and then repeat. It's really that simple. And here are the sets and the reps that you should be doing. That's already mentioned previously. So yeah, by tucking in your chin, you're prioritizing safe technique and also focusing the contraction on the deep neck flexors. So the longus coeli, the longus capitis, and also the highly aesthetic neck muscles like the sternocleidomastoid and the submental muscles. It's a really good way to avoid strain on the neck in the places that you don't want to strain. So additionally, you want to include 1 set of neck extensions and side or lateral flexion raises to ensure that you're not creating muscle imbalance, and do 1 set of each side, of course. For the neck extensions and the lateral flexion raises, it's really simple. You don't need to tuck your neck in, just do slow controlled movements. It's simply just lying on your side and lifting your head up and back down into the neutral flat position. So for all these neck exercises, it's really important that you start at body weight. So just move your head. And then once you can comfortably do 5 sets of 25 reps, add 2.5 kg or 5 pounds to that session. By doing these neck exercises, you'll also get a tight submental region, which is really attractive. And you'll also develop a thicker, more masculine neck, which is also highly attractive. So yeah, I personally did these 3 exercises for 1 month and I gained 1.5 inches for my neck circumference. It's nuts. It's really effective. I measured 3 times a day during that month to make sure that I wasn't sort of lying to myself. And yeah, I was very surprised about how effective it really was. And yeah, you can just maintain a few sets every 1 to 2 months and you won't lose anything in terms of gains. So finally, for tongue chewing, you want to create a ball of gum in your mouth, then close your mouth and keep your teeth gently pressed together. Push the gum against the roof of your mouth and completely flatten the gum onto the roof of your mouth with your tongue. Just focus on high pressure, high force pushing against the roof of your mouth and do it for about 30 seconds. And then remake the ball and repeat and do it 5 times. So yeah, that's the end of phase 1. It's really important that you do this, as mentioned previously in the module. Really important. And once you've got this all locked in, you'll be ready to move on to phase 2 and 3, which is identifying your unique and specific facial flaws based on your unique facial structure, and also making intentional justified changes to removing and fixing those facial flaws. And they're linked together in the modules following after this phase. So yeah, I'll see you in the next 2 phases.